guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl King Nugget. Before we get started with today's video, I do want to thank everybody who watched my last video. If you're new here, welcome. I'm going to leave the link for that video down in the description box, so if you're new you can go ahead and check it out, get to know me a little bit better. Okay, so for today's video we have why I joined the Army. It's basically going to be my experience with basic training and MEPS and everything, and what led up to me joining the Army initially. So if you want to hear about that, please stick around. So basically, both of my parents are military. They're both in the Marine Corps. So growing up with them, I definitely did not want to join the Army. They're very strict on me. So I was like, why would I want to do that? Why would I want to join the Army and be like them? Which is like little kid thinking. But I didn't have any intention of ever joining the military at all. Didn't know what I was going to do after high school. So at that point, I'm a little bit older and I'm like, yeah, my parents are a little strict, but I need something to do. I need to get some money, pay for college and all of that. So I was initially going to join the Marine Corps. And I took, I went to see the recruiter. I went to go speak with my father about that. And as you can guess, he was not too happy about that. So I was still 17, so I actually needed his permission to actually go ahead and join. And he was not having that. He didn't sign the paperwork or anything like that. So I know I could have waited until I was 18, but I kind of was like, oh, he said no, so let me just move on from the topic. Or he won't sign my paper, so let me just move on. So I ended up graduating high school. I did start college. And so I was going to college for about a year and working and everything. I still lived at home. And I got schooled through my parents, so I didn't really have to pay for school. Luckily, I'm fortunate for that. But I was still living with them, and here's a little bit of backstory on my life living with my parents. This is another reason why I joined the military. So once I graduated high school, I was still 17, then I turned 18, but my parents are still very strict. So at the age of 18, I'm still not allowed to go out and just do whatever I want to do, like some 18-year-olds are. Not that I'm trying to stay out all night to the crack of dawn and be partying and everything, but like simple stuff like going to the movies, hanging out with friends. They were very strict on me in that aspect, so I didn't really do much, and that kind of made me angry. So I was working at Subway, and Subway's not making six figures, and I didn't want to live at home anymore, so I was like, let me go ahead and try and join the military again. So this time I went to an Air Force recruiter. The Air Force laid back. They laid back. They don't do nothing. So I was like, that would be perfect for me. I don't want to do nothing. But so I was going to go to the Air Force recruiter. Now backtrack a little bit, I do have tattoos. So at the time I had a tattoo on my back and a tattoo on my ankle. My mom did find out about the tattoo on my ankle because initially I did not tell either of my parents that I had tattoos. She did find out about the one on my ankle, but she didn't know I had one on my back. So when I went to go see the Air Force recruiter, I knew they were going to ask. So I was like, let me go ahead and take my mom to the recruiter instead of my dad so he doesn't murder me for having tattoos. So I took my mom up to the Air Force recruiter. I actually went to the Auburn recruiting office because the Columbus recruiting office, the Air Force recruiters were never there. I don't know why. But I went to the Auburn recruiting office with my mom, and so before I went in there, I was like, Mom, I'm an adult. I'm going to talk to the recruiter. You're just there for show. Don't say anything. And what did my mom do? She said something. So we go into the office. They ask about my tattoos. I tell them about my tattoos. They ask me other questions, and they ask me, have I ever had any like breathing issues, any like asthma or anything like that. Now that's kind of, I guess, like a big deal with the military, but I've never had asthma. I did have to use an inhaler at one point while I lived in Japan because of the humidity, and there's mold, and we weren't working together. We weren't doing good together, so I had to use an inhaler for about 3 or 4 months, but that was it. So when the recruiter asked me, do you have any breathing issues? I said, no. Here comes my mom.
Oh yes, she's had bronchitis.
Mom, I never had no bronchitis. Like, this is not a chronic illness, Mom. Like, you didn't need to tell him that. And the recruiter was like, oh, really? Use an inhaler. I'm like looking at her like, what are you talking about? Like, you're supposed to sit here and not say anything. And you're talking. Why? So at that point, the recruiter's like, okay, so we're gonna need to have some testing done on you. And I don't know how anybody else's experience went. This is just mine. I don't know if they do this, but so she told me I had to have some like breathing testing done, which I did. And then, I contacted her back and everything and had my results sent over, which I was fine. So, but they were kind of like giving me the runaround. So I know like it does take a long time, the recruiting process for the Air Force, but they're giving me the runaround. So at a certain point, I just was like, forget it. Like, they're not giving me any information. They're not getting back to me. So I just kind of like let it go. I just didn't reach back out to the recruiter or anything like that because she was giving me the runaround. So fast forward a couple of months, I got the military thing out of my head again, and so I'm working. At this point, I'm working at Burlington. I have a lot of stories about Burlington, but I was working at Burlington, and at this point, I did have my own car. So my dad did not want me to have a car at all. So when I got it, he was really upset. He didn't want anything to do with it really. So I got a car, so I was driving myself to work and coming home. Now my shift for Burlington, I don't remember when I would come in, but I know I left around like 11 p.m. And again, my dad's not happy about that either. One night, I can't remember the exact day. It was around November time. As much as I can remember, I did get off late and I was driving home and your girl wanted some chicken nuggets, ironically. So I'm sitting at a light, waiting to turn left into McDonald's to go get some chicken nuggets, and the light turned green, but it was a yield light, so you have to wait and make sure nobody's coming before you turn out and make your left turn and go about your business. But I was sitting at the light, I looked, nobody was coming. I start turning out, boom. So I got hit by a car on the right side of my car head on, and then my car kind of like stopped and like rolled into the stoplight. I have pictures of it. I'm gonna try and talk to my mom and see if she still has the pictures from the accident. I'll go ahead and insert them up here so you can see it, so you can see what it looked like. But so I got hit by a car. Now I didn't see them coming at all, and the speed limit in that area is like 35, 40 miles per hour. So he was definitely not doing 45 miles per hour. Like, he had to be doing like 65 because he knocked the front bumper off of his car. He totaled out my car and broke all the windows in his car. They like shattered out. So just a quick story on that. So he hit me and I rolled into the stoplight, and the airbag, as soon as he hit me, the airbag exploded in my face, and like, the smell of like fireworks after they go off, that's what it smelled like. So I was in shock. It knocked my glasses off my face. I couldn't see nothing. I was in shock. So all I remember is some guy opened my passenger door and he was like, "Are you okay?" And like, he kind of looked like a homeless person. So I like looked at him and I was like, "Who are you?" Like, I like grabbed my purse. I'm in shock, so I don't know what I'm doing. I grabbed my purse and I'm like, "I don't know who you are. Like, can you back up?" And so I finally like get myself together. I still don't know where my glasses are at this point. I can't see anything. And so I get out the car and I'm like looking around, and like the driver's side of my car looks totally fine. So I'm like, did I get hit? Like, what? I was like, what happened? Like, and then I look over and I see the guy that hit me in the middle of the street. His car is like gone. There's no repairing that. And I go over and I'm like, "I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't see you. Like, are you okay?" And he had the worst attitude. I get it. We was just in an accident. You upset, but we both could have died, low key. So what you? I'm just like, why are you got an attitude? Like, can we work together here? And so this all happens like very quickly. So I get out and I'm like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "You just hit me." Blah blah blah. And he was upset. So I was like, "Okay, like I'm sorry. Like, did you call the police?" He's like,
Why do I need to call the police? You call the police.
"I'm like, excuse me, sir." I was like, "Okay, you know what, all right." So I go back in my car, look for my phone, call the police, and guess where the police were at? McDonald's, and they're probably getting some chicken nuggets. Anyway, so I call the police and I tell them what street I'm on, and that cop car responded. So he comes over and he's just like, "What happened?" And I'm telling him what happened, but I'm like, I mean, yeah, I turned out, but I was doing like 2 miles per hour, like turning. Like I wasn't even turning fast. I didn't even make the full turn before the guy hit me. I'm like, there's no way that he was doing the speed limit. But the police officer said that it was my fault, so I was at fault for the car accident. And just side story, after I hit the guy, he was upset because he was like, "Where's my wedding ring?" And I'm like, I don't know, like I've never heard of you getting hit by a car and your wedding ring fly off your finger. So I'm like, that I don't know where your wedding ring is. It shouldn't be on your finger. Like he was out here creeping. I know he was doing something he wasn't supposed to. And his wife pulled up and he looked like he was doing something he wasn't supposed to. Anyway, so the police officer was like, "You're at fault. I'm just gonna give you," or he was like, "Oh yeah, I have to write you a ticket for, running the light." And I'm like, "Bruh, my car is totaled already. Like, you're gonna write me a ticket?" And I just like started crying. And then he was like, "You know what, I'm gonna just give you a warning this time." Thank you. Thank you so much. And then at that point, I had already called my mom, or I called my mom, and because, my mom's more understanding, but guess who's with my mom? My dad. And he was like, "I told you, I told you, I told you." And, he asked if I'm okay, but he was basically like, "This is why I didn't want you to have a car." So at that point, after the officer already talked to me and everything, now if my mom was there, I'm pretty sure, we could have talked to him about the fault of the accident, because she's more like, she's got like a firm fist. But she pulled up and I just started crying. She's like, "Why are you crying? Get a hold of yourself." I'm like, "I just got hit by a car." And like I had slippers on because once I got off work, I took my shoes off and put my slippers on in my car. And my mom was just like, "Why are you wearing slippers?" I was like, I don't know. So she we have to wait for the people to tow my car. I had to get everything out of my car. It was totaled. Like there was no fixing it. But good thing, have gap insurance. That's a good thing to have, people, because I didn't have the money to pay for that. But they towed my car and everything like that. So I wasn't hurt or anything, thank God. But the next morning, back to my Army story. At that point, I was like, man, how am I going to pay for this? Like, I just got in a car accident. My mom was mad. She was like, what are you going to do? I'm like, we got gap insurance. So, we went to go get me a rental car I don't remember the place, but we went to go get a rental car for me until, my insurance handled everything so I can get a new car or whatever. So, when we came back, went to go get the rental car, and, I followed my mom back home. And when we pulled in the driveway, my little brother was with us. He got a call on his phone. Now his phone is my old phone. So when I was initially trying to, join the Army, I gave them that phone number. So they called and he picked up and they're like, "Can we speak to Katrina Staples?" And I was like, I was just getting out the rental car, like my back, like I was like, and my mom was like, come here. And I was like, okay. She was like, "There's someone on the phone for you." And I was like, okay, this is my brother's phone. Like, why are they calling? And so I picked up the phone and I was like, "Hello." And she was like, "This is a recruiter for the Army. We have this phone number on file for you." I was like, oh yeah, this is my old phone number. It's not my phone number now. But it's just like a coincidence that that happened. So my mom was mad, my dad was mad, and I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. And so they were talking to me and they're like, can we meet and, talk to you? It was a reserves army recruiter. So I was like, at that point, I was like, they don't love me no more. I'm just gonna go join the army again. So I was like, yeah, you guys could come, talk to me or whatever. So we scheduled a meeting and they came to my house the next day and they talked to me. And I'm still thinking, like, my parents are just mad at me, like, they're gonna kick me out of the house or something. So I was like, she was like, so do you like what you've learned, like, heard about the army, like, what I've told you? Is this something that you want to do? And I was like, yeah, sign me up. As you swear in, that's when your contract started. So I was like, yeah, sign me up, or yeah, I want to do it. And they came like a week later and I filled out all the paperwork. I had to do like some like an army initial physical fitness test, and it ain't nothing. Like, I had to throw a ball, lift some weights, like, so I did that and everything, and I signed up, and then they scheduled me to go to MEPS, which is where you swear in. I left for MEPS. It was in Montgomery, so we had a recruiter. It was me and another girl. I forget her name, but I mean, if you're watching this, hey. But it was me and another girl. We went to MEPS, and then we met with like a group of people. They're all joining different branches, so we stayed in a hotel since it was so far, and I was roommate with a girl that was joining the Marines. At like 4 o'clock in the morning, meet downstairs in this room or whatever. And then we're gonna, get the MEPS process started. And basically MEPS is just like medical, I'm pretty sure. So you just go to all these stations, like, I think dental, I'm not sure, it was so long ago, it wasn't even that long ago, but I think you get your teeth checked, you get your eyes checked, you have to do like some like physical things, like the duck walk. Everybody's heard about that. You do that, you're not naked, but you're in your bra panties in this room with like a whole bunch of other girls, and they make you do all these weird exercises. You meet with a doctor to make sure you don't have scoliosis or any like spinal problems. Side story, my doctor was so weird. Like, he had a denture in his mouth, and every time he talked to, like, I was like, and I'm standing in there naked, basically, and he's so just denture just flapping. I'm like, yeah, okay. So I go through the whole process of that. I was there a long time, like into like 8 o'clock at night. So let's see. Initially, also, when you get to MEPS, I did the ASVAB. I took the ASVAB already, like, out of high school. But when the recruiter called me, my ASVAB scores had already expired. So I had to retake it once I got to MEPS. And they're like, you can either get the short ASVAB or a long ASVAB, which is the short one is just a couple like assessment questions or whatever. I don't know how they got it, but I got stuck with the short end of the stick, and I had to take the whole ASVAB again. So I was in there for like 4 hours when I initially got there. By the time I got done, all the food was gone, and I still had to get up the next morning and go through the whole MEPS process. But when I got to the end of that, if everything checks out, then you can swear in, basically. So you're like waiting in this room, you do all your MEPS stuff, you're waiting in this room, you can't be on your phone, you can't really talk, you can't sleep. And so they have the news on. I'm like, nobody wants to watch the news. So I'm just sitting there, and like some people are getting like denied, or they had to go back and get waivers for certain things. I don't know their story, so I'm not going to speak on that, but my experience went smoothly. So I got to the end of the process, I'm waiting, and they're like, okay, you can go ahead and, go speak to the, I guess they're like recruiters, or I don't know, but they're in there. You go in there, they go over your contract, you pick, like, if you're getting a bonus, like, you pick what job you want, if it comes with a bonus, like, all that, like, school and everything. And they sign up your contract, you sign it, your fingerprint on it, so you can't say that you didn't sign it, but you put your fingerprint on it, and then you have to wait a little bit longer, and then you actually do the swear-in ceremony. Now, I'm in there trying to swear in, and the guy was like reading the little statement. I couldn't hear nothing he was saying, so I was like, and yeah, yep, Like, basically, I didn't even swear in the Army, so I don't know why I'm still here. But yeah, so you swear in, and then I went home. After that, like, the recruiter took me back to the recruiter's office, and then I drove my car home from there. But I called my dad on the way. First off, my dad didn't believe that. I don't think he believed that I was going to MEPS, because he was like, "Don't be somewhere you're not supposed to. You know, don't be lying to me." I was like, "Dad, where else am I gonna go?" But so I called him on the way back, and he was like, "What job did you pick?" And I was like, "I picked a combat medic. Like, my MOS is a combat medic." And he just hung up. He was mad. So he hung up. And so I'm driving home. I get home. He like asked to see all of my contracts and everything like that. And my ship date wasn't until July 18th, I'm pretty sure. And so I went to MEPS in December. So I had like 6 months, in between that. So I actually, I was drilling at my unit that I was going to be at, even though I never went to basic, or I hadn't gone to basic yet. So that was a good experience, because I got to see kind of like how things work before I actually went to basic. I would go to drill. So the first like 2 months I didn't go, because I was like, I don't got the address, and the address for the unit was on the paper. I'm so stupid. So I go to my unit, and they're like, "We've been looking for you," and I was like, "Oh, you see, I didn't have the address." So they're like, "You're gonna be drilling." I would just come in like workout clothes basically, and I would just be in the corner. Like, nobody knew I was there. I was scared. I walked in, and everybody was like, I could just feel their eyes on me, and I'm like. And, like, I remember one drill I came with, like, green hair, like, green buns in my hair. And, I'm not in the Army yet, so they can't say anything to me. So I go in, and one of the sergeants was like, "You can't have that in your hair." I'm like, "But I do, though, so what are you going to do about it?" So then they were calling me Minnie Mouse. But I was drilling for, like, 6 months. It was really a good experience. I already had, like, made friends in my unit. So when I got back, it wouldn't be like I was starting over again. But I went to drill for those months. We did I wasn't allowed to do anything. Like, even though I knew my MOS, I would talk to the medic that was actually there. She kind of told me some things, not nothing crazy, but I wasn't allowed to go to the range or anything. So whenever they would do stuff, I would just be sitting there basically, and I would get paid for it. It's only one weekend out of the month. It's either a 4-day drill, 3-day drill, 2-day drill, which it means you go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or you go Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday and Sunday. But I didn't do anything really, so it was just making free money. It's not a lot, because I was a private. I was an E1, so it wasn't a lot of money that I was making. And so when I left on July 18th, I was so scared. Like, my parents are strict and everything. I was so scared. I was like, can I back out of this? Like, do I still have to go? Like, do I have to go? Can I cancel my contract? And, everything was going through my mind. Like, the day I left, I, made my room all nice and everything, because I wasn't going to be there for, almost 7 months or 6 months, because my AIT for combat medic school was 4.5 months, and I'm gonna do a separate video on my AIT experience, so you guys can hear about that as well. But I left the morning of July 18th. My parents took me to the Columbus airport. It's a small little airport. It's nothing crazy. And my parents were telling me about their basic training experience, which is way different from how it is now. My parents went back in dinosaur ages, so. But I was scared. I was like, I don't want to go anymore. And I didn't cry once, but that lump in your throat that you get, I had that for 2 days straight. So, I, said goodbye to them. I think my dad was super sad. I know my mom was sad. I didn't want to leave. I said goodbye to them. I got on the plane. They paid my plane tickets and everything. I think I flew to Atlanta. And then from Atlanta, I got on another plane. And I was hoping my plane ride was going to be 6 hours. I don't know why I thought that. My basic was in Missouri. Ain't no 6-hour flight. But I was like, please be a long flight. Because I didn't want to go, so I go from Atlanta to Missouri, get off the plane, and they gave us these vouchers to go eat, so they told us to go eat but our plane landed like really late. They told us to go eat, so I went to go to this restaurant and ate, and I met up with some people that were, you know, going to the same basic as me, and we were talking and everything. And I guess we were like late, like nobody came to get us. We were trying to find our way to the USO, which is where, you know, we meet, I guess, for the drill sergeants to come get us. But we finally eat and everything. We get to the USO, and there's a drill sergeant there, and I never seen one before, like in real life. Like, it's not like on the movies. He was just standing there. He's like, "Why are you guys late?" And I was like, "They told us to go eat." Like, I didn't say anything to him, but I'm like, "They told us to go eat." And so he's like, as soon as we got to the USO is when he showed up. I guess he was already there, but he was like looking for us, and so he was like, "Why are you guys late?" And I didn't say nothing. I just went and stood in line with the rest of the people. He told us to get in a formation. Don't nobody know what a formation is. I knew what a formation is because of my parents, and I was going to drill for 6 months, so I was like, in formation. I was standing at parade arrest thinking I'm big and bad. I was like, y'all don't know what parade arrest is? Like, so I'm like, in parade arrest and standing there, and we get on this bus and we go to Fort Leonard Wood, which is where I went to basic training. That drive was like 5 hours from that airport, so I'm still on we still have our phones and everything. I'm texting my mom like, "I'm scared. Please don't make me do this," even though it was my own doing. And I'm texting everybody and being like, saying my goodbyes and everything, because I didn't know. I thought we were going to be able to keep our phones through reception, but you don't. They take it. But I didn't know when I was going to get my phone taken, so I was texting everybody, you know, saying goodbye and everything. We get to reception at like 10:30 at night or something like that. I stepped off that bus. There was bugs everywhere. I was like, heck no. Like, I was like, they weren't normal bugs. They were like big bugs. Like, I get off the bus, I'm like, they got to be playing. Like, I don't do bugs at all. They got to be playing. So I get off the bus, they swarming around, and I'm trying to stay still, and I'm like, so can I go home, please? And so they're like, you know, get out the bus and like stand in line. They weren't, you know, yelling at us yet. So we go into reception. They have like these benches, so like find a spot, take your folders out, sit, don't talk, you know. So I'm sitting there with my hands on my lap, and they're like, whenever you sit, you're gonna sit at attention, which basically means your back straight, your hands on your lap or whatever. So I'm in there like, what did I do? Like, why did I do this? So I go ahead and take my folder out, and they're basically like, just want you to listen. Like, they're like, you're gonna do as we say. When we say it, don't go ahead. And, you know, there's always somebody that's, oh, I know everything, I'm gonna go ahead and not do what they say, and then y'all get yelled at or whatever. So first things first, they like put on an intro to reception basically, and then they took our phones off bat. Like, they're like, if you need I think they let us like call and say goodbye or whatever, but they took our phones. So I was like, dang. So they took our phones, and so they do the little intro. We sign some paperwork. They take us to these rooms to get like our PTs. And I know you guys seen Army PTs with the yellow Army on it. To our barracks, or where we'll be sleeping, and there's already some people there that, you know, they haven't left for basic training yet. So this is before you actually go to basic. So this is your week 1, I guess, or 0 week. It's 0 week. So basically, reception is an extra long MEPS. So you basically all you do all day is stand in line for different stations, like dental, get your vaccinations, vision, there's some other stuff. And while you're not in, they take you to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. While you're not in line, you have to be, you know, sitting, not talking, whatever. And they hand you out this little blue book. I see if I can find it, or if I can find a picture of it on the internet, I can just insert the picture right here. They give you this blue book. It's like an intro to basic, or an intro to being a soldier, and you're just supposed to read it and be quiet. And I read this book like 30 times I can't read it again. So that's what we did the whole week basically. I met some people there, and I'm a very like active person already. Like before I joined the military, I was, an active person. So the stuff that we were doing wasn't too crazy for me. We ain't even got to basic yet, and people were falling, like dropping like flies. I'm like, we ain't even there yet, guys. Like one of the girls I was bunked with, she picked up her duffel bag and dislocated her shoulder, and I was like, dang, you gonna be stuck here forever. Like if they find something, like if they find out you lied like on your initial, paperwork, like you gonna be there for a minute, until they like discharge you or whatever the case may be. But everything went smoothly for me. But on my first night after we got our PTs, like I'm kind of confident now, or I'm more talkative now. But before I was very quiet, shy person. So the first night we got our PTs, I think you're supposed to have 4 sets, and I only have 3 because of this. And whoever stole my PTs, you know who you are. But the first night we got our PTs, and I'm going to take a shower. You have to shower with all the girls in there, so I had to get really comfortable with that really quick. And I folded up my PTs all nice and put everything in my little area on the bench, because there's a bench in the shower area. And I take a shower really quickly. I come out, PT's gone, like the wind. They're out of there. I was like, and I wrote my name on it. I wrote my name on everything as soon as I got it. So some dusty, crusty private walking around with some PTs that say Katrina Staples on them. And if you got them, send them in the mail, because I still want them back. Thank you. And so I get out the shower. I'm like, has anyone seen my PTs? Like all quiet. And nobody even flinch. I'm like, and you're not allowed to go into the living area or like the sleeping area unless you're dressed. So I'm like standing there like, has anyone seen my PTs? Anybody? Crickets. Nobody even look at me. Nobody say anything. I went out to the living area, get my PTs and put them on. So I still only have 3 sets. I know I could have bought more PTs by now, but it's whatever. But that was my first night. So every morning you get up and do a formation. They do a head count and make sure everybody's there. Then you go do the reception process. Now there's some people that's been there for like weeks, and I was like, that's not finna be me. Like, because something's wrong with their paperwork, something like that with their in processing. So I'm like, that's not finna be me. So I don't even think I finished my, like, I didn't go, I think I did everything. There was like one station, it probably wasn't like something critical that I needed to do, but when they were like, who wants to leave today, I was like, me, because there are some people that's been there for weeks, and I'm just like, I'm trying to get this out the way. Like, so I raised my hand. I was like, I want to go right now. Like, but before we left, they set us out. They're like, all of you guys are leaving today, and so they set our stuff out and everything like that. Before we left, we were supposed to get a phone call to call our parents, and I got to MEPS on Friday or on Monday, and then we left on a Friday. And they set the phones out. We're in the auditorium, so they set all the phones out. Somebody stole somebody's phone, and they couldn't find it. So that took like 20 minutes, and that was supposed to be our phone call time. So they couldn't find that person's phone or whatever. So that cut into our time. They were being like booties, and they were like, oh, since somebody went to the phone, nobody's getting a phone call or whatever. And I'm like, but they did let us call. We had about like 1 minute to call. And I called my mom, and she didn't pick up. I was like, so I called my dad, and I started crying. I'm like, it's hot out here, and I want to go home. Like, I want to go home. And he was like, you'll be fine or whatever. And then they're like, get off the phones, get off, hang up, blah, blah, blah. We had our phones. We had our phones in our pockets or whatever, but we couldn't take them out. And then when we got to our basic training area, we had to give it to our drill sergeants. But they knew if you had a phone, like, because it was written down that you had a cell phone. So they tell us to get off our phones. We go stand in a formation next to our bags and stuff. And so the drill sergeants at the reception area are a little bit more chill than your actual drill sergeants. Sergeants are going to come, and you're going to, sound off with your company motto or whatever. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what our company motto was, but they're like, you're gonna sound off with your company motto, and you're gonna be at attention and everything like that. And so we had to like hold our dog tags out and everything like that. I don't remember exactly, but I remember our drill sergeants came to get us, and they looked so scary. Like, I'm saying that I'm scared. If I see a drill sergeant now, like, it really don't bother me. But that was like my first experience with them. So they get off their bus and they come and get us or whatever. They're just walking around, you know, not saying anything, and they're giving me like the scary look with their drill sergeant hats on. They're like, and so I'm like just standing at attention, like, you know what? I want to go home. Like, I think I said that like 100,000 billion times. And they're like, okay, sound off with your motto. And so everybody just joined the Army. There's like 2 or 3 people that are like coming back in the Army and they have to do basic again, but everybody just joined the Army. So they say sound off. We sound like booty. Like, I'm just like, yo, we sounded like crap. And I just start like smiling and I'm finna laugh. And one of the drill sergeants see me and he was like, oh, you think this is funny? I was like, no. Like, he got all close to me and I was just like quiet, and, you know, I didn't make eye contact with him, so he didn't come over there and they didn't start, you know, chumping me. But so we do that, and then, you know, they give us stickers, and that like separates us into platoons. So it's like your company, and then your platoon that you're in. I think I was in 4th platoon. So we get on separate buses, we load up our stuff. You're sitting on the bus with your duffel bag in your arms, and, you know, I'm just like, we get on the bus. The drill sergeant, he's the senior drill sergeant of the company. So that was my 4th platoon drill sergeant, was the senior drill sergeant of the whole company. So we're on the bus with him, and little did I know he's really laid back, but he didn't say anything. Like, usually what you see on TV is that they're yelling at you as you're getting on the bus, and, you know, they're walking up and down the aisles yelling at you. He didn't say anything to us, so we're just sitting there. So we pull up to our basic training site. He's like, you got 30 seconds to get off my bus. And he said some insert words here. And so I was like, okay. Like, I grab my bags and I get off the bus. And, like, I didn't know where I was going. I just start running. Like, and every time, the drill sergeant, like, sprinkled around everywhere. And I guess I found my way to where we were supposed to go. So I get off the bus and I just start running, like, and every time I seen a drill sergeant, went the opposite way. I was like, nope, I'm not getting shark attack today, because that's what it's called. It's called a shark attack. And that's your first day in basic training.